So coming up this weekend is going to be UFC Fight Night Fiziev versus Gamrot, and I'm looking forward to this card because it is going to mark the end of a very busy time period for me at university. I've had quite a few tests on over the last few weeks. I've obviously had to study for those tests, and I haven't been able to put out as much content as I used to. But with this week, kind of marks the end of that period before I go back into another exam period in a few weeks. So this is the card that I get to celebrate with. I wish it was a little bit better, but to talk about the card, I think it is pretty top heavy. I think the main card in particular is very good. The prelims are kind of, some of them are good, some of them I'm not so excited for, but we will talk about that when we get around to it. And before we do get into my predictions for the card, you do have my 125% sign up bonus there. The link is in the description with the code JOIN125, and also a 3-day free trial to the UFC Picks premium membership service. If you sign up using that code that is over there, Artem, you will get a 3-day free trial to everything UFC Picks premium member, and it is $10 a month after that, but you can cancel at any time. Now we get into Monsterrat Rendon taking on Tamires Vidal. This fight kind of fills in that quota for UFC fighters making their debut on a card, because I feel like the last quite a few cards, we've had at least one debut for the last month or so on every single card. This card is no different. I believe the next card in a couple of weeks, it doesn't have someone making their debut, so there's that to kind of look forward to, I guess. But Monsterrat Rendon is going to be making her debut in this matchup. She is coming off a very close win over Brittany Cloudy. That fight is on YouTube. You can watch, and if you look at the comments, everyone is just screaming robbery. They're talking about how bad of a decision it was. Honestly, I can kind of see where the judges were coming from in that matchup. I feel like they had to have given Rendon the third round, because Rendon in that matchup, I think she definitely lost the first round, and then the second round she stopped going for takedowns because Rendon is a grappler, and just kind of put on a lot of volume onto Brittany Cloudy. But Cloudy had really good defense, a lot of the shots weren't really landed, and then the third round Rendon put even more pace on Brittany Cloudy, throwing even more volume, and then got a takedown at the very end of the fight. So I'm assuming the judges gave her rounds 2 and 3. I tried to find the scorecards, I couldn't find them anywhere, but it was a close fight. I mean, I can kind of see where the judges were coming from, even though Cloudy did beat her up on the feet for most of the fight. But to talk about Monsterrat Rendon, as I said, she is a grappler, but she does not have a very good ability to get the fight down to the ground. Her wrestling is not too great, but when she does get the fight down, she is a pretty good grappler. On the feet, all she really does is throw straight shots. She doesn't throw many kicks. She's a boxer for the most part. Her defense isn't that good, and she just kind of spams 1-2s, but her 1-2s aren't super clean. They're a little bit sloppy. Like, she kind of doesn't throw them straight. She's kind of like almost like the overhands mixed with the straight. If you guys watch the fight against Cloudy, you'll know exactly what I mean. But she's not the most technical striker in the world. Tamires Vidal, I don't really see her justifying a minus 250 price tag here. I do understand that she had a very, very good debut. She knocked out Ramona Pasquale within the first round with a flying knee, and she did go for a takedown in that matchup against Pasquale that was defended. Vidal, I would say, is probably also a grappler for the most part. She does train at the small gym called Team Brothers. You can see them on her Instagram. It's a very small gym. There's not too many very, very high-level fighters there, but she definitely is probably the best fighter at that gym, which can be a good thing, and it can be a bad thing as well. But Tamires Vidal, she's also not the most technical striker in the world. She is a good wrestler and grappler. I am going to pick Tamires Vidal to win this matchup, but if you're thinking of betting on this fight, I just say don't, because I don't think that there's any value anywhere. I think maybe if you like Monsterrat Rendon, but I mean, it's a low confidence pick for me on the Vidal side. I'm going to go with Vidal to win by decision, but I think this is just a fight to completely avoid. So give me Vidal to win by decision in this fight. Now we move on to another fight, which I would say, from a betting perspective, I think you should probably avoid this one as well, because Mizuki Inoue taking on Hannah Goldy, and Inoue hasn't fought for 3 years. There's not a lot to really go off after a 3-year layoff, because I don't know if Mizuki Inoue has spent that 3 years not really fighting, not really training, not really doing anything. I do understand that the worldwide sickness did get in the way of her career. Now she's coming back after many years away, and as I said, like, she could have taken that 3 years to make improvement. She's only 29 years old. She did have a couple of decent performances in the UFC. I mean, she lost to Amanda Lemos, who just fought for the title, and she did beat Yanan Wu, who hasn't gone on to have the best career in the UFC. In fact, I think she might have been cut, but she did manage to beat her. She's taking on Hannah Goldy, and Hannah Goldy is a girl who isn't the best fighter in my opinion. I mean, you don't really need me to tell you that much, but she's lost to Miranda Granger, who didn't go on to really do anything. She lost to Diana Belbito, who's pretty good. She beat Emily Whitmire by first round sub. I picked her to win by first round sub. Emily Whitmire was never UFC level. And then she got brought in to take on Molly McCann to lose. And everyone saw that coming. She was going to lose to Molly McCann, and she did. Now, Hannah Goldy is a wrestler for the most part. Her wrestling actually is pretty good. But Mizuki Inoue in the past, she has shown decent grappling. Her striking is going to be better than Hannah Goldy's, because Hannah Goldy is not a good striker whatsoever. I'm going to go with Mizuki Inoue to win by decision. But once again, I just don't see Inoue justifying this minus 250 price tag after 3 years away. I've got questions, but I'm going to go with Inoue. I think that Inoue should be able to outstrike Goldy to a decision here, but I mean, at minus 250 after 3 years away, I don't know what Inoue's been doing for the last 3 years, you know, like she could be doing anything. So, give me Inoue to win by decision in a big return fight for her. Jake Collier is taking on Mohammed Usman. This is one of those fights where I kind of did think about picking Jake Collier, but I watched Jake Collier's last fight against Martin Buday, and they both looked terrible in that fight. I'm going to be honest, like, they both looked a bit bad. He got knocked out by Chris Barnett in a fight that he was looking good in until he completely gassed out. That was another really bad performance from him. But the thing about Mohammed Usman is, I don't think Mohammed Usman is that good either. And the thing against Junior Tafa, I am a little bit salty that he did beat Junior Tafa. But man, like, that fight was so boring. And when Mohammed Usman was getting takedowns, he was doing absolutely nothing. I can't believe that the referee never stood that fight up. It was a very weird fight as well. And even then, with a short period of time that the fight was on the ground, on the feet, sorry, Junior Tafa was just beating the crap out of him, to be honest. So, I mean, in this matchup, it might sound a little bit crazy, but Jay Collier probably will be the better striker. Mohammed Usman isn't a very good striker at all. I know he did knock out Zach Punga, but he wasn't looking that good in that matchup before that happened. I'm going to go with Mohammed Usman. I think that he is going to go for takedowns against Jake Collier. I do think he is going to get those takedowns against Jake Collier, and I think he's going to win a decision here. It's more of a fade of Jake Collier at this point in his career than anything. I think Jake Collier's last 2 performances have just been incredibly terrible and embarrassing. It's kind of sad that he's a professional athlete and he's in the shape that he's in. He's got no gas tank whatsoever. He just doesn't have any power at heavyweights either. He's just kind of got nothing that can punish Mohammed Usman. At least with Mohammed Usman, you know, when he's taking on Junior Tafa was the better and more powerful, well, maybe not the more powerful striker, but the much better striker, and he was punishing Usman when the fight was on the feet. Collier's not going to punish Usman when the fight's on the feet, I can tell you that much. I'm going to go with Usman. I'm not going to go with Usman in KO. I'm just going to go with him to win another decision like he did against Tafa. But the thing is, Collier's cardio is probably worse than Junior Tafa's. So, I mean, who knows? I'm going to go with Usman, though. Now we can move on. We've got Jacob Malkoun taking on Cody Brundage. I really like Malkoun in this matchup, but the problem is that price tag, man. You're paying a massive tax on Jacob Malkoun, who I'm not that high on. I know a lot of people are really high on Jacob Malkoun and they think that he can go far. I'm still not that sold on Malkoun. A lot of people thought that he beat Brendan Allen. I thought he lost to Brendan Allen. I did think that Allen was the one that was scoring more points in the matchup, doing more damage and stuff like that. He did manage to beat Nick Maximov, and in my opinion, that is a good win, even though Maximov was cut from the UFC afterwards. He beat AJ Dobson, which has kind of aged poorly, but well at the same time. The thing is, as well, it's almost kind of is another fade of Cody Brundage. I know Cody Brundage is on a big 3-fight losing streak, but I don't think he's as bad as people think he is. The problem is his fight IQ is probably the worst fight IQ, maybe in men's fighting history. I mean, when he took on Mikhail Olchechik, that was just a loss. You know, Mikhail Olchechik did manage to catch him. But when he took on Rodolfo Vieira, he went for a guillotine against Rodolfo Vieira. Bad idea. When he took on Cedric Dumas, in my opinion, a really good stylistic matchup for Cody Brundage. He's pulling guillotine, he's doing dumb things, and Cedric Dumas is somehow able to get the better of the wrestling and the grappling in that matchup. It was a terrible, boring fight, but I can't believe that Brundage lost to Dumas in the way that he did. I thought if Dumas was going to win that fight, it was going to be by KO, not by out-wrestling and controlling Brundage on top position. Brundage just, honestly, probably is the dumbest fighter when it comes to fight IQ in UFC history, potentially. I mean, that's why he loses fights. But when it comes down to this, though, I think Jacob Malkoun is the better fighter. I think Malkoun can out-wrestle Brundage. What Malkoun kind of does do is he just takes people down and lays on them. His fights are super boring in my opinion. And that's what he does. His striking defense has been very bad in the past. He's been knocked out in the past, obviously. Got knocked out very easily by Phil Hawes. But I'm going to go with Malkoun. I think Malkoun wins this fight by decision. A relatively high confidence pick, to be fair. I don't think Brundage is that good. Brundage is also taking this fight on short notice as well. So, yeah, give me Malkoun. I think it's a pretty good matchup for him. This is another underdog I really considered. And honestly, my pick for this fight might change with time. But I am still on Andre Fialho. But it once again comes down to, why would anybody bet Andre Fialho at minus 200? When I looked at this fight, I'm going to be honest, when I saw Andre Fialho versus Tamires, I thought that might have been a little bit of a pick-em. I mean, maybe I'm stupid, but Andre Fialho, man, he's been KO'd so many times, man. What makes him justify minus 200 again? He got knocked out 3 months ago by Joaquin Buckley. In a fight he wasn't looking too bad in, but he's just... I'll get to it soon. And then he got knocked out by Muslim Salikov. Probably lost years off his life with the beating that he took from Muslim Salikov. Got knocked out by Jake Matthews, of all people, as well. It's really bad in that matchup. But the thing with Andre Fialho, with what I think is his issue with his entire career, is this guy just fought too often. Now, you guys know me. I absolutely love fighters that fight often and fight all the time. But the thing is with Andre Fialho, I feel like he has just been cutting weight so much and so often. It's actually had a deterioration on his body and on his ability to fight and on his chin. Because, I mean, yes, he has been KO'd on the regional scene, but recently, now that he's in the UFC, he's just getting knocked out all over the place, you know? And he took on Mikael Pereira on short notice. I thought he had a pretty good showing. Knocked out Miguel Baeza in the first round. Great win. Knocked out Cameron Van Camp in the first round. Decent win. And then he lost to Jake Matthews by KO after about a month away, you know. And then he took on Muslim Salikov after getting knocked out about 4 months, 5 months later. And then about 6 months later, he takes on Joaquin Buckley, gets KO'd again. Now he's taking on Tamires. 3 months after getting KO'd by Buckley, he's been knocked out 3 times in the last year and 2 months. Not even 3 times in the last year and a half. 3 times in the last year and 2 months. There are questions, man. But the thing is, I do believe Andre Fialho is still a good enough boxer to be able to beat Tamires, who is a very crafty veteran. He does have a very somewhat hard to figure out striking style. He is a grappler for the most part. Most of his wins are by... I got Tamires confused with somebody else for a second. I apologize. But anyway, he can grapple. You know, most of his wins are by submission, but the point is, Andre Fialho, I mean, in my opinion, I think at this point in their careers, because Tamires is almost 40 years old, I think that Andre Fialho can knock out Tamires in the first round. That's what I'm picking. Do I think it's a good pick? Not really. I mean, I'm on Andre Fialho, low confidence, guys. I mean, I don't see myself picking Tamires at this point in his career against a guy who I do still believe, and I do still believe that Andre Fialho is a decent fighter, and I do still believe that he can get wins in the UFC. I'm going to pick him to beat Tamires. This is a low confidence pick. I mean, most people on Fialho, I didn't look at the typology votes before this. I am surprised, but give me Andre Fialho to knock out Tamires. Tamires has only ever been knocked out twice, though. He is pretty good defensively, but at the end of the day, he is almost 40 years old. And now we can move on to Miles Johns taking on Dan Argueta. I mean, maybe it's Dan Argueta, according to Tapology. Maybe he's not Dan. Maybe he's Dan. I'm not actually too sure. But anyway, Miles Jones taking on Dan Argueta, it seems. I'm going to go with Argueta in this matchup. I do believe that he can out-wrestle Miles Jones. I know that Miles Jones is a very good wrestler. I know that he'd come up a wrestler, but recently decided to strike a lot more than maybe he should. And he is coming off that win, which was a long time ago against Vince Morales, who... in a way, this is kind of a similar matchup, but not really, actually. Hold on. Vince Morales was a wrestler that fell in love with his hands. Dan Argueta is a wrestler that still wrestles. But Miles Johns, I mean, I think that he's not going to be able to defend the takedowns. And the thing is, well, that I just cannot ignore is how good Dan Argueta looked against Ronnie Lawrence. I know that it was the early stoppage. I thought it was an early stoppage. I actually did pick Ronnie Lawrence in that matchup, though, so maybe I had a little bit of bias. But even then, I do think that it was a bad stoppage. We had another one of those at Noche UFC, which I also thought was a bad stoppage. Yes, he beat Nick Argueta, but I don't think Nick Argueta is UFC level. I think he's going to get knocked out by Peyton Talbot in his next fight. But he took on Damon Jackson on short notice. Once again, upper weight class on short notice. I thought he had a very, very good account for himself. Argueta fought him on short notice. And then for his first full camp fight in the UFC, he's just looking so good against Ronnie Lawrence, who himself is a really good wrestler. Now, I do understand that Ronnie Lawrence was potentially sick at the time. I believe he's actually retired for a set period of time to sort out some staph infections or something like that. But I think that Dan Argueta can get Miles Johns down and just really frustrate Miles Johns, who is probably going to want to be the striker in this fight. So give me Dan Argueta to go out there, take down Miles Johns. I don't think he gets a finish because Johns is a pretty tough dude. I'm going to go with Argueta to win by decision in this matchup. And now we move on to Charles Jourdain taking on Ricardo Ramos. This is another fight which I really consider the underdog, but I'm going to go with Charles Jourdain, in a very low confidence pick again. I really wanted to pick Ramos in this matchup because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think I have an underdog on the entire card. So I'm sorry, a lot of people get disappointed when all I do is pick favorites, but I don't pick fights based on odds, I pick fights based on who I think is going to win. And in this case, I think that Charles Jourdain wins this fight. Now, Ricardo Ramos is a grappler for the most part, but he can strike. The problem with me and Ramos is this guy just hasn't fought often at all. Yes, he has fought 5 times in the last 4 years pretty much, but he hasn't fought for over a year. He's fought twice in the last 2 years, and you cannot go without mentioning this absolutely horrific weigh-in that he had against Austin Lingo. You will see that the fight was cancelled due to Ramos missing weight. What did Ramos weigh in as? 154 pounds for a 145 pound fight. So maybe Ramos, just with all that time away, maybe he just doesn't really have the ability to cut the weight safely anymore. I don't know, but I mean, all I know is that Charles Jourdain has been active. He's fought 5 times in the last year and a half. He's coming off that win over Kron Gracie, which, to be fair, he probably should have been able to just knock out Kron Gracie, but he showed that he was able to stay safe on the ground and just beat the crap out of him on the feet as well. But for Ricardo Ramos, I think that he's going to be at a striking disadvantage with Jourdain, and even then, if the fight does go down to the ground, I think that Jourdain can play it safe. I think that Jourdain is a good enough grappler to be able to avoid all of the submission attempts that Ricardo Ramos is going to be going for. Give me Charles Jourdain to win this matchup here. I think Jourdain is a very fun fighter. I think this could be a very fun fight. One thing as well about Ricardo Ramos is he usually wins most of his fights in the first round, and if they don't go the first round, I just lied. I mean, my goodness, all of his fights in the first round, all of his losses except for one are in the first round. Because I was looking at UFC stats for Ricardo Ramos and I was thinking, like, maybe what's his cardio like without having to watch all of his fights. And yeah, like, he does slow down a little bit after the first round, but he does also get finished a lot as well. I'm going to go Jourdain to win a decision though. Jourdain does have power on the feet, but I don't think it's going to be enough to knock out Ramos. So give me Jourdain to win a decision in this matchup, but it's worth noting that not a lot of Ramos' fights go the second round whatsoever. I apologize for the mistakes in the video. Unfortunately, this is kind of what happens when I record the whole card in one take. If I do fights fight by fight, usually I'll just kind of restart the video, but I'm 17 minutes in now. Let's continue. Bryan Battle taking on AJ Fletcher. I mean, I feel like you've got to go with Bryan Battle in this matchup. Bryan Battle in his last fight looked really good. It didn't last too long though. He did kind of just knock out Gabe Green in 14 seconds. He did miss weight for that matchup, but he was coming off that really bad loss against Rinat Fakhretdinov, where he just was not able to defend the takedown. And that is what could make AJ Fletcher, once again, a potential underdog of choice, because AJ Fletcher is a wrestler. AJ Fletcher is a guy that is going to go out there and try and get the takedowns, but the thing is, he did out-wrestle Themba Gorimbo, who did manage to go on to get a win recently, but before that, he lost to Angelusa in that crazy fight, which was at Elevation. He completely gassed out going for a finish, and Angelusa managed to kind of take the decision in the third round. He lost to Matthew Semelsberger. I picked Matthew Semelsberger in that fight about a year and a half ago. And then it's the first time I've ever been bombarded with a crazy amount of negative comments on my channel because, I don't know, maybe AJ Fletcher has like a lot of mates or something that watch my channel or something, because my goodness, they were coming for my neck in the comment section. I'll never forget that moment. But anyway, I got Bryan Battle. I think that Bryan Battle can knock out AJ Fletcher. I think he is a much better striker than Fletcher. It's also worth noting he's fought at 185 in the past. I think he suits 170 a lot better. It is a shame that he missed weight against Gabe Green, and he did manage to win that fight pretty easily after that, though. But that Rinat Fakhretdinov situation, definitely worth noting, though, that Bryan Battle could not defend the takedowns against Rinat, but I think that Rinat is a much better wrestler than AJ Fletcher. Give me Bryan Battle to beat AJ Fletcher by knockout in this matchup. I think that he's looked pretty good since coming down to 170 pounds. Now we get the rematch that absolutely nobody asked for. You've got Marina Rodriguez taking on Michelle Waterson-Gomez. She's coming off that loss to Verna Jandiroba, which she was out-wrestled and out-grappled. I thought that we're going to see Marina Rodriguez beat Verna Jandiroba in that matchup, but honestly, Verna looked really, really good in that fight and was able to out-wrestle Rodriguez, which we haven't really seen too much before. She was coming off that loss to Amanda Lemos, which I thought was a pretty early stoppage. All Amanda Lemos did was just rock her, and then the judge jumped in, so the ref jumped in and ended the fight early. But before that, she was on a bit of a run, you know. I thought she also... Okay, hold on. I also thought that she lost to Yan Xiaonan as well. I picked Rodriguez in this fight. I thought Yan Xiaonan won the first 2 rounds. But anyway, I think she can beat Michelle Waterson-Gomez. Michelle Waterson-Gomez at this point, 3-fight losing streak, almost 38 years old. I mean, she's 1 and 4 in her last 5, but I think she might be like 1 and 5 in her last 6. She's 1 and 5 in her last 6. She's just not in her prime anymore. This is a weird fight. I don't know why Michelle Waterson is taking this fight when I feel like there's a lot of much easier matchups out there for her. I was going to say if she hasn't fought Angela Hill yet, she should just fight Angela Hill, but at this point, she should just fight Angela Hill in the rematch, not Marina Rodriguez, who, although is old herself at 36 years old, I still haven't really seen a lot of massive regression from Marina Rodriguez like I have against Michelle Waterson. Maybe the UFC matchmakers thought she beat Pinheiro, so they're kind of rewarding her with a highly matched matchup, but I just think that we're going to see... It's going to be a full striking match. The whole fight's going to be a striking match, but I think that Rodriguez is going to be throwing more volume and landing more. So give me Rodriguez to win by decision. It's a weird fight to be booked, I'm going to be honest. But now we can move on to a fight that I'm pretty well looking forward to, because I actually can see Dan Ige winning this matchup. I just don't think he does win this matchup. Now, Bryce Mitchell's coming off that loss to Ilia Topuria. I picked Ilia Topuria to win that matchup, and hindsight is 2020, but Ilia Topuria looked really good in that matchup, and he did make the people that picked Bryce Mitchell look a little bit silly. But I know Bryce Mitchell said that he was sick or something in that matchup, but I'll be honest with you guys, I think as soon as Ilia Topuria started landing those bombs on him, Bryce Mitchell just kind of wanted a little bit of a way out. I mean, Topuria was smacking him up on the feet pretty bad. But before that, Mitchell was 15-0. Beat a couple of good guys. I mean, he beat Edson Barboza in a fight which he dropped Edson Barboza in round 1 and then dominated the wrestling. He beat Andre Fili, he beat Charles Rosa, and he beat Matt Sales by Twister, but Matt Sales is probably one of the worst fighters to ever be in the UFC. The point is, Bryce Mitchell, he has fought good competition, but he's also fought not the best competition on his rise to the rank that he is right now. I think that Dan Ige is going to be a good win for him if he can get it. Dan Ige is 100% want to strike with Bryce Mitchell, and I do believe if Bryce Mitchell goes out there wanting to strike with Dan Ige, he's going to lose this fight. But if he goes out there trying to wrestle and take down Dan Ige, get the fight down to the ground and grapple with Dan, I think he's going to find a lot of success. Dan Ige, I mean, he was kind of a little bit of a meme on my channel for a little bit, because I believe I was 3-0 on Dan Ige picks from me starting my channel, because I picked against them every single time. However, I actually did pick Dan Ige to beat Damon Jackson, and I did pick Nate Landwehr to beat... Sorry, I'm wrong. I picked Dan Ige to beat Nate Landwehr as well. So I'm 5-0 on Dan Ige picks. I know my Dan Ige very, very well. I faded him 3 times. I picked him twice. He just outclassed Nate Landwehr in that fight. Damon Jackson went into that matchup with probably the worst game plan I've ever seen out of a fighter. Damon Jackson went into that matchup thinking that he could outstrike Dan Ige. In fact, even worse, he thought that he could outbox Dan Ige. And what is Dan Ige good at? Not a lot, but he's really, really good at boxing, and that's just what he did. He just beat the crap out of Damon Jackson on the feet with his boxing. He beat the crap out of Nate Landwehr on the feet with his boxing. His takedown defense is pretty good, but I think that Bryce Mitchell is going to be able to set up takedowns and get it down to the ground. I can see Dan Ige winning this matchup, but I think that Mitchell is going to be able to get it done using the wrestling, using the grappling. I'm going to go with Mitchell by decision in this fight here. Another pretty low confidence pick though, to be honest. And now we move on to the main event. We got Rafael Fiziev taking on Mateusz Gamrot, and I am going to be going with Rafael Fiziev for the longest period of time. I was actually going to be on Mateusz Gamrot, and the reason why was it comes down to, can Fiziev defend the takedowns, and that's what it is. And I think he can. The thing about Rafael Fiziev is, on paper, he has absolutely ridiculous takedown defense. He has 90% takedown defense, which is incredible. If you take out the Rafael dos Anjos fight, what wrestlers did he fight though? Brad Riddell, not a very good wrestler, struck with him pretty much the whole time. Bobby Green, not the best wrestler. Renato Moicano, Not the best wrestler, but Marcano can grapple. Diakiese, this was, I believe, pre-D1 Diakiese, and he did defend 4 takedowns against Diakiese, but still, not really the best wrestler in the world. But when he took on RDA, he defended 14 takedowns. Rafael dos Anjos attempted 16 takedowns in that matchup, and Fiziev defended 14 of them. He did fight Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje, according to the stats, attempted 3 takedowns, and Fiziev defended 2 of them. So, Fiziev's takedown defense on paper is fantastic. If you do factor in the fact that he hasn't really fought any great wrestlers aside from Rafael dos Anjos, who was trying to take him down, and Justin Gaethje, who wasn't really going in there with the game plan to take him down. The thing is, I think he can defend the takedowns of Gamrot, but I can see Gamrot winning this fight as well. I think the difference is Rafael Fiziev is so much better at striking than Mateusz Gamrot. It's absolutely insane. And Mateusz Gamrot is going to be much, much better at wrestling and grappling than Rafael Fiziev. But I do believe that the disparity on the feet is so wide. I would be surprised if Rafael Fiziev is not able to knock out Gamrot. Gamrot did take on Jalen Turner on short notice, and he got hurt. He got hurt on the feet in their matchup in the periods of time that it was on the feet. But I thought he looked really good, and it is worth noting that was a short notice fight for Gamrot. I believe Gamrot was replacing Dan Hooker, taking on Jalen Turner in that fight. I could be wrong, but I know for a fact it was short notice. So shout out to Gamrot for doing that. Not a lot of ranked fighters take short notice fights too much these days. But I'm going to go with Fiziev. I do believe that Fiziev can knock out Mateusz Gamrot in this fight. I believe he's going to knock him out maybe in like the first 2 rounds. I know it's pretty early. I know Fiziev doesn't really have that many KOs in the UFC, really. Like, a lot of his fights have gone the distance, or maybe half of them have gone the distance. Half of them have been KOs. But it just does come down to Fiziev really is that much better than Mateusz Gamrot at wrestling. I think I can see Fiziev knocking him out. I'm going to go with Fiziev by KO in this matchup. It's definitely not necessarily a fade on Gamrot, because as I said, I think that Gamrot is a really good fighter, and I can absolutely see Gamrot winning this fight. Not too much doubt in my mind do I think that it could happen. But I think Fiziev is just so much better at striking than Gamrot. We're going to see a pretty good performance from Fiziev. I think we're going to see a knockout from Rafael Fiziev. And that is my picks. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to go live for this card. I don't know if I will. It just depends on how much I've got to catch up with on uni, because I'm studying for tests, I'm putting a lot of other university things on hold, like lectures and stuff that I need to watch. So I do have a lot that I am putting on hold that I'm not doing. So it depends how busy I am going to be this weekend. Depends if I go live. But if you guys want me to go live, let me know in the comments below if you made it this far in the video. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.